morning. I wanted to take a moment and express my appreciation for Gil. Gil was scheduled to speak this morning, but he's taking some time for himself today. And just this community and who's here and everything that IMC and IRC is a testament to Gil and how much he gives us. And I was, during the meditation, I was thinking about how I first came to this community about 25 years ago. I know. Where did the years go? And Gil was teaching in Palo Alto at the Quaker Friends Center. Some of you may remember, yeah. And I had just graduated from Stanford, from college, and was working. And a colleague said to me, I didn't know her very well, and I was in my early 20s, and she, seemed much older. She was probably like 27 or something, but was married and stuff. And she said, Max. Oh, she was pregnant at the time as well. And she said, Max, I go to these talks on Monday nights, and for some, I just think you would like them. And do you want to go? Just talk tonight or something. And I said, okay. And it was like just a meditation and a talk, and I remember parking in the neighborhood. It was off of Middlefield, near kind of that area near 101, and I was working a little bit farther down 101 in one of the office parks in Bayshore. And so it was really close. And I remember parking in this very quiet neighborhood. It was so, dark and quiet, and I wasn't familiar with it. So it's kind of, your senses are a little bit heightened because I don't know this place. And so I parked and then walked in. And in my memory, it was a long room, and people were sitting kind of facing each other along the room. And then there was a teacher kind of at the end of the room. I remember sitting down and waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally I was like, all right, okay, I think I get it. And everyone just kind of closed their eyes and it's like that moment where something lets go. And it's like, waiting for something to happen, waiting for some teaching. Then you realize, this is it. This is it. And something lets go. And it's like, okay, I can be here. I can wait. I can just sit and wait. And then Gil started to, ring the bell, and he gave a talk. And what I was struck by was how ordinary he was. It was so plain-spoken and so ordinary. There was no artifice. There was no, I'd come from the business world, and there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of, presentations and big special effects, and I'm going to sell you something, and this was just so ordinary, but his words went right into my heart, and because the truth, when we hear the truth, there's something resonates in us, and And I thought to myself about Gil, this is someone I can trust. And so I started kind of just going regularly or week after week, and he would teach on Mondays and Thursdays, and then on Sunday mornings in Portola Valley. And being, I was 21 and, didn't have a lot going on, basically. So, I had time to go to teachings and talks, and I didn't really know why I was going, And someone would say, well, why do you meditate? Or what do you, and I said, I don't know, I didn't think I had any particular skill at it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm really good at this. I should be doing this. It was more like just to stop for a few moments and be willing to be with this mind, this heart, this body. It was such an unusual thing. And this was, this was before iPhones and all the ways that we can so easily soothe ourselves and distract ourselves and check out. And of course, in the 90s, you had to open the fridge or, do something to get distracted. But what I felt was that on the days that I could get myself to sit down and meditate for a few moments, it was like things shifted 1 millimeter, but that made all the difference, in my day, in my perspective, in the capacity that I felt to be in my life. And so, and I sometimes have the image of a moment of practice or a day of practice as like, it's so like one period of meditation, or one period of just being still, being quiet. It's like, it's so insubstantial. It's like one of these, it's a little bit of a dated image, but one of these pages of a phone book. You remember phone books? It's like so thin. It's so insubstantial. Nothing. But day after day, year after year, it becomes something. It becomes something substantial. And so, in meditation, the perfect can be the enemy of the good. It's like, well, I give up. Well, if I don't have 40 minutes to sit, what's the point? Or if I don't, if I can't, it's like, no, it's like any moment we can stop and wake up and open up to our life and appreciate this moment, whatever it's offering to us. This is important. This grows. This, we stay connected to something that's alive. And I feel the poignancy of if you've been practicing or just been alive over some years, it's like the poignancy of time passing. I have this image of myself, maybe because I started practicing being relatively young, of being kind of young, and these days I do some work with university students and young people in their early 20s, and it's like, oh my God, I'm, I'll say, well, when I did that in 95, and they're like, Max, I was born 10 years after 95. What? And so when we say insight meditation, what is the insight? What is the insight in insight meditation? And maybe different teachers would say different things, but what I would say is, and I think there's good support for this in our tradition, is that the primary insight is that things change. Things are changing. Everything is changing. And so, in some ways, it's the most obvious sort of cliched thing, is that everything is changing. But to really see that, to really feel that, to really take in the magnitude of this, and everything changes. Maybe a little more tender way of saying it, or pointed way of saying it, or something, is everyone changes. Everyone dies. This is the insight. This is the insight of insight meditation. And this paradox that the more quiet we are, the more still we are, the more we can perceive change. It's in direct proportion to how still we are that we can perceive change. So just to notice this. Sometimes things happen in life that stop our minds, right? We have to stop. We have to take notice. Something interrupts our picture of who we think we are and what we think life is. One of my teachers has said this line that has always stuck with me, but it's something like, reality appears in the form of the unexpected. Reality appears in the form of the unexpected. Of course we have our expectations. Of course we have, and often our expectations are things are going to kind of keep going the way they've been going, right? This continuity. And there is continuity. But also things change. And sometimes it's that interruption or that disruption that makes us stop. It could be, the change of a relationship. It could be the ending of some a career or a job, or it could be, some medical event or some life event that, it sort of forces us to stop. And so in practice, we're practicing how to stop and how to be present and open to the ways, large and small, that things change. And I think one of the amazing truths that Buddhism, that Dharma points to, is that the more we open to impermanence, the more we open to this truth, and the more we are willing to be with it and breathe with it, and to whatever extent we can in the moment, accept it. The more we can do this, actually, the happier we'll be. The more peace is available to us when we're not resisting, we're not fighting, we're not struggling with the way things are. And so this is the pivot point of Buddhism. How can I align myself with the way things are? And this is what brings freedom. This is what brings happiness. And each moment gives us this opportunity. Each moment is a request to let this in. So I feel like, for me, one of the great teachings of Gil that I, to whatever extent I've been able to take in and metabolize and chew on and work with, and is how to not be in conflict. How to not be in conflict. How to not be in conflict with myself. How to not be in conflict with life. How to not be in conflict with the way things are. And and if we think of our practice as the practice of non-conflict, then it opens up. Then we know immediately how to practice. We know immediately what to do. And that is to sense into where is their conflict? Where is their struggle? Where is their tension? And so when we meditate, just to notice in the body, where is the contraction? Where is the sense of tension? Often the physical manifestations of struggle are a great doorway, a great portal to the sense into this. Can I open to this body, however it is, however it happens to be right now, and not in a way that needs to fix and change and improve, but just to be with, to hold the tension, to hold the tightness. And then where is the mental tightness? Where is the struggle? The sense of this is not it. This is not what I'm here for. And so this has been a great guiding light for me, and maybe we could think that, well, isn't that going to be a real bummer to just be looking for conflict and looking for struggle and looking for tension and looking for unease or anxiety, but actually, it's there anyway. So we either see it or we don't see it. And if we don't see it, it controls us, right? If I don't see my anger, if I don't see my fear, then I act from it. Usually for me, ways that are not that skillful. But if I see it, if I can feel it, if I can bring it in, acknowledge it, welcome it, meet it with some care and tenderness, then it's like I'm not in conflict anymore. It's not like there's this fear and I don't like it, it shouldn't be here, and I'm going to try to ignore it, or the shame, or this anger, and I'm going to kind of, I'm not in conflict. I'm opening to it. I'm trying to learn from it. And maybe that which we don't like the most about ourselves, that's which we're the most ashamed of, we're the most fearful of, that's our treasure. That is what this practice is asking us to open to and breathe with and understand on a level that we haven't been able to understand before. And so it's like the dragon. This is the year of the dragon, right? And in Buddhism, the dragon is, the dragon is the protector of the Dharma. The dragon is the protector of the Dharma. And the dragon is a symbol of transformation. The dragon is a symbol of wisdom, right? It's a symbol of knowledge that's hidden. So what's hidden? What's the hidden knowledge, the hidden treasure that's in us? That maybe we haven't fully appreciated the power and the potential. Some years ago, Gil put together a book that I'm sure it's in the library of the sort of short teachings and these beautiful photographs of Suzuki Roshi, who was the founding teacher of San Francisco Zen Center. And Suzuki Roshi, his Dharma name was it was something dragon. Doesn't that sound nice? Fill in the blank, dragon. It's not white dragon, because Suzuki Roshi's teacher, Sojun Mel Weissman, who's my teacher and Gil's teacher, was Sojun Hakuryu, which was white dragon. And so Suzuki Roshi... It might be pure dragon, but I'll look it up. I'll let you know. But the title of the book that Gil put together was called "Why Did the Dragon Come to the West?" And it was about, it was in Suzuki Roshi, who came from Japan to the U.S. in the late 1950s. And he, his coming to the U.S. and to California in particular, it was like the timing was so incredible, because there was the Beat generation who were interested in Eastern things and meditation and states of consciousness, and then there was the hippies and and drugs and psychedelics and all and all these things coming together, and people remarked how just amazing and kind of bizarre that all these somewhat wild-looking, unwashed hippies would show up at 5 a.m. to meditate with this tiny little bald Japanese man wearing robes, and who had a kind of strictness. If you know Japanese Zen, there's quite a strong aesthetic and a strong form to the practice. So it's not like, we just come in and do whatever we want, and and hey, and tune in and check out. It's like, no, you come in and you stand a certain way and you bow a certain way, and there's bells and it's a formal practice. So to see these kind of wild-looking young people surrender to this very formal-looking practice, but they understood that in a way that in the kind of form we can find our freedom, right? Form and freedom are two sides of the same thing. And then so Suzuki Roshi was this dragon who was, in a way, this strict Japanese Zen master, but he was so open, and his mind and his heart were so open to the sincerity of these Americans who were suffering, who were questioning, who were seekers. And so they met each other in a really deep way. And then there came a time when, so Suzuki Roshi was teaching at Sokoji, which is still there, on Bush Street in San Francisco. And it's the Japanese congregation. And there came a time when the older Japanese community was sort of like, all right, what gives? You got all these kind of crazy people coming in and meditating, and they're kind of taking over our space. And we kind of brought you over here to be the priest for us. And you're doing this stuff, and and they basically, and not that it was, I think there were some people in the community who were also, interested in this kind of form of meditation and zazen, but there was this split. And so Suzuki Roshi, the dragon, was confronted and said, it's either us or them. You have to choose. And so as the story goes, the first way that the dragon dealt with this confrontation is the way I think we all like to deal with confrontation. He avoided them. So he went into hiding. We couldn't find him. He wouldn't open the door. And then finally, they said, you have to make a decision. And he said, I go with the people who sit zazen. I go with the people who meditate. And anyway. And so this lineage, even though it's a Japanese Zen lineage, it's also part of our lineage through Gil. And I'm sure many of you know that Gil came to practice through Zen, and is a very respected figure in the Zen Buddhist community. One of the elders on the Elders Council at the San Francisco Zen Center. And I feel the influence of Zen practice very much in our practice here, even though we don't follow so much of the outward Zen forms. I think there's something in Zen that is the immediacy of Zen and the kind of radical openness and this pointing to accepting all of who we are and all of what this moment is giving us right here, right now. This is it. I think insight practice and vipassana is so wonderful. And it has a certain kind of, there's a lot of different teachings and techniques and lists. If you've been around here for a while, there's many lists. 12 this, the 10 this, the 4 this, the 8 this. It was great. But one of the things I get from Zen and from Gil is that it comes down to meeting the dragon in us, who is us. And Now we'll begin the talk. That was all of introduction. You know, the best children's books are not really just for children. And, you know, I think of The Giving Tree, Shel Silverstein, so many great books that when I look at them and, it's like, oh my God, this is so deep. And can be understood on so many levels. Well, I recently got introduced to this book, which is by Jack Kent. There's No Such Thing as a Dragon. I don't know if you know this, but it's really good. It's so good. I'm not going to read it all. But Billy Bixby was rather surprised when he woke up one morning and found a dragon in his room. It was a small dragon about the size of a kitten. And so little Billy discovers there's a dragon in his room. And so he goes downstairs and he tells his mother, Mama, there's a dragon in my room. And she said, Billy, don't be silly. There's no such thing as a dragon. It's like, okay. And he goes back up to his room and he has this instinct to sort of pet the dragon, to touch the dragon, to meet the dragon, but he stops himself, when your mother tells you that what you're seeing doesn't exist, well, he trusts his mother. He loves his mother, right? So he ignores the dragon. And against his better instincts. And then, an interesting thing happens. The more he tries to ignore the dragon grows. And he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so next we find that Billy's downstairs having breakfast. The dragon is under the table. So big, the table is kind of, he's lifting the table up. The dragon eats all his breakfast. Dragons like pancakes, apparently. Billy's mother is still can't see the dragon. She says, Billy, he said, Mama, the dragon ate all my... Billy, there's no such thing as a dragon. Then next we see the dragon gets bigger and takes up the size of the whole living room, and the mom is trying to vacuum around the dragon. Still doesn't see the dragon. Finally, the dragon gets so big that he lifts up the house, walks away with the house. The father, who's also been insisting that there's no such thing as a dragon, comes home from work. Where's my family? Where's my house? One of the neighbors said, I think I saw a dragon. Or no, I think I saw the house. I think I saw your house across town or something. So the father drives around, finds, is so worried, to find his family. Finally, sees the house, sees the, here's the dragon, Mr. Bixby got in his car and went looking for the house. He studied all the houses as he drove along. Finally, he saw one that looked familiar. Billy and Mrs. Bixby were waving from an upstairs window. And Mr. Bixby climbed over the dragon's head, onto the porch roof, and through the upstairs window. So the father asked, how did this happen? And little Billy says, it was the dragon. There's no such thing, the mother starts to say. Finally, Billy finds his voice, and to his parents he says, "There is a dragon," Billy insisted, "a very big dragon." And finally, Billy patted the dragon on its head. So he acknowledged the dragon. The dragon wagged its tail happily. Then, even faster than it had grown, the dragon started getting smaller. Soon, it was kitten size again. So, "I don't mind dragons this size," said Mother. But the parents ask, "Why did it have to grow so big?" "I'm not sure," said Billy, "but I think it just wanted to be noticed." You see the dragon sitting on their lap. And so I think when we're not in conflict with our dragons, that means we're not denying them, we're not ignoring them, we're not pretending. We're meeting them. We're taking care of them. We're acknowledging what's true for us, and we're not letting other people confuse us, and we're not letting other people define who we are or for what we know is true. Then not only are we not in conflict with the dragon, we become the dragon. And we become these protectors of the Dharma, and protectors of what's true, and protectors for ourselves and for others. It's a pleasure for me to be in the company of this great assembly of dragons. So, thank you very much. And I think we have a few minutes. If anyone has a comment or a question, feel free to go if you have to go, and we'll just end in a couple minutes. But would love to hear from you.
Hi, I guess Max, right?
Max, yes.
Okay, we kind of figured through your story, but since you're substituting Gil, we don't really know your name. It's okay. So at the beginning you said nothing to gain and nothing to lose. So you're kind of pretending to be like this because obviously we gained experience and we lost, I guess you can say, time till we die. So there's obviously two things like right off the top of my head. But so we pretend that we're like nothing to lose, or how does it work?
So in Buddhism, like in life, there's this great principle. You fake it till you make it. And so, of course, there are things to gain. And of course, there are things to lose. And at the same time, in the widest possible way of looking, maybe we can say that because everything is already exactly the way it is, because everything is already preaching the Dharma. Everything is already expressing what's true. Nothing can be lost, This is like the realm of transformation. Things are just changing. Moment by moment by moment, things are changing. And so, from the perspective of I'm a person who's bound in time and space, yeah, I have a lot to lose, and I have a lot to gain. And from the perspective of everything is just what it is, there's just change. There's just this flow of experience. And in Buddhism, it's not that one perspective is right and the other one is wrong. It's that we're usually sort of stuck in one perspective. And so this is like about loosening what's usually very fixed view. And can I open to this other perspective? And can I have the freedom to move between these perspectives? So, it's like we're going to leave here, and just because everything is changing moment by moment, don't just take any random pair of shoes, right? Take your own shoes. We need to have that, that's the perspective of the self. And we need that. And then, but can we also open to, there's more to life than just that limited perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This life is kind of programmed to be just more or less conflict-ridden. You pick up the news in the morning in New York Times, Wall Street Journal, whatever it happens to be your favorite rag, and all you get is essentially things that point to conflicts. The question I have is, how do you get yourself or create the capacity in yourself to be able to maintain your heading without having to be, in a sense of the Dharma, without being afflicted by or jerked around by all these incredible things that are coming at you every moment.
I appreciate the question, and it's, I think, in a way, it's I think why the Buddha talked about this practice as going against the stream. We're going against the stream of so much conditioning and so much history and karma of conflict. And in the way, conflict is kind of part of our, you don't have to be a Freudian or something to know that, conflict is kind of part of how human beings are constructed, and how we build the self. And so I think maybe what I'll say now is just that that question, and just that impulse to stop and to breathe and to be and to open and to be willing to meet what's in conflict for ourselves in a respectful way, in a curious way. It has to start this way. It has to start this way. And some days we'll have more capacity to do it than other days. But to just have that sense that this needs to be seen, this needs to be met. These dragons in me need to be acknowledged. This is where it starts, and then moment by moment, it's a process, and so thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.